My girlfriend texted from her luxury girls trip. We're extending the vacation, send more money. I didn't reply. Then I packed her bags, left them with her mother. A week later, the girls' trip was over. I'm 29 male. As a structural engineer, I live by a simple code. Foundations are everything. You calculate every stress, account for every variable, and ensure stability before you even think about building up. For 3 years, I thought the foundation of my relationship with my girlfriend, Poppy 27, was solid rock. I see now it was just well-compacted sand waiting for a storm. I have a good career. I'm not rich, but I'm financially secure. Poppy is a stylist's assistant, working hard to build an online brand as an influencer. I've always been proud to support her dream. I've bought camera gear, editing software, and helped fund the designer pieces she used to build her portfolio. I considered it an investment in her happiness, which I thought was an investment in ours. For her 27th birthday, she wanted the ultimate dream girls trip with her friends Pippa and Imogen. The resort she picked was a high-end, all-inclusive paradise. The cost for the 3 of them for 5 nights was just over £4,000. It was a significant amount. But I paid it without hesitation. I transferred the money directly to her account to book the trip. Seeing her ecstatic face as I dropped them at the airport, that feeling of providing joy was worth every penny. The first few days were a highlight reel on my phone. Photos of Poppy, Pippa, and Imogen, cocktails in hand, living their best life. The captions were full of dream come true and best boyfriend. I'd send back a heart emoji, playing my role as the supportive off-screen benefactor. On the 5th day, the morning they were scheduled to fly home, a text landed that changed everything. Poppy: "Hey darling, having the most amazing time. We're not ready for it to end. Pippa found a deal to upgrade our room and extend for another week. It's perfect. We're going to do it. Can you send over another £1,500? It'll cover everything. Love you." I read it, and a profound, icy stillness spread through my chest. It wasn't about the £1,500. It was the complete and total absence of a question. It was a demand packaged as a cheerful update, the sheer, unblinking entitlement of it all. I didn't reply. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but a cold, logical part of my brain took over. Instead of texting, I opened my laptop. I had a nagging feeling, a loose thread I needed to pull. A few weeks ago, Poppy mentioned a mutual acquaintance, a girl named Gemma, was also going to be at the same resort complex with her family. I found Gemma's public Instagram profile. I scrolled through her stories, and there it was, a video posted 10 hours earlier, a wide shot of a crowded resort beach club. In the middle of the dancing crowd was Poppy. Her arms were wrapped around the neck of a guy named Niall. A friend she'd told me was gay and just part of her professional circle. His hands were low on her waist, and they were moving together in a way that left zero room for interpretation. In the background, Imogen was making out with some other guy. This wasn't a girls' trip. It was a couples retreat I had unknowingly funded. There was no explosion, no rage, just a quiet, clean snap. The foundation had failed. My job now was to manage the demolition. The first thing I did was not pack her bags. It was to open a new browser tab and type "Tenant Rights Without Lease UK." I knew after 3 years of her living with me, receiving mail here, and for all intents and purposes calling it her home, I couldn't just throw her out. That would be an illegal eviction, and it would give her power. My mind went into engineering mode. I needed a process. I needed documentation. I found a template for a formal notice to quit. I filled it out carefully, citing the end of our personal relationship as the cause. I printed 3 copies. Then I walked into our bedroom. For a moment, the sheer normalcy of it all hit me. Her perfume in the air, her half-read book on the nightstand, a wave of something hot and painful. Grief, maybe, or fury, washed over me. I wanted to sweep everything onto the floor. Instead, I took a deep, shuddering breath and walked to the spare room. I pulled out her 3 large suitcases. I began to pack, not with anger, but with a chilling, robotic focus. It was a task to be completed. I folded her clothes, wrapped her shoes, and systematically cleared the bathroom of her endless collection of bottles and jars. I felt like an archaeologist cataloging the remnants of a lost civilization. I paused at her bedside table. The velvet box was there. Inside, the custom silver locket I'd designed for our 2nd anniversary, an engraving of the stars on the night we met. A one-of-a-kind symbol of what I thought was a one-of-a-kind love. It felt like a parody now. I picked it up, its weight feeling obscene in my hand. I took out my phone, placed the locket on the dark wood of my desk, and took several high-resolution photos and a short video of it from every angle. Then I closed the box and placed it carefully inside one of the suitcases. It was her property. But the story of its creation? That was mine. I packed everything she owned into those bags and boxes and stacked them neatly in the spare room, closing the door. The apartment was still full of her decorative touches, the throw pillows, the art prints she'd chosen. It felt like a ghost of our life together. I sat on the couch, the printed notice to quit on the coffee table beside me, and I waited. The storm was coming, and I was going to greet it with a legal document and a dead heart. Update 1. The silence was deafening for 2 days. Then, the inevitable call from the airport. "Hey, we just landed," she said, her voice bright and full of vacation bliss. "So exhausted. Can't wait to see you. I'll grab a taxi." "Your tea works, Poppy," I said, my voice flat, devoid of any warmth. "But when you get here, we need to talk." The slight pause on her end told me she caught the tone. "Okay, is everything all right? You've been quiet." "We'll talk when you get here," I repeated, and hung up. An hour later, her tea turned in the lock. She walked in, dropping her carry-on with a sigh of relief that died in her throat when she saw my face. I was sitting on the couch, the living room dimly lit. The apartment was eerily tidy. "Arthur? What's going on? You're scaring me." I didn't say a word. I just picked up my phone, opened the screenshot Gemma had sent me, and placed it on the coffee table in front of her. Her face went through a rapid-fire series of emotions: confusion, dawning recognition, and then a flash of pure, unadulterated panic. It was there for only a second before the walls went up. The classic gaslighter's defense. "Oh my God, that," she scoffed, trying for a laugh. "That's Niall. I told you about him. We were all just dancing and having fun. You're seriously bent out of shape over a stupid picture." It stopped being a girl's trip the moment his hands were on your waist, Poppy. "You're being insecure. You're letting your jealousy ruin my welcome home because I dared to have a good time on the trip you sent me on." I let her tirade wash over me. I didn't raise my voice. When she was done, I pushed the printed document across the table toward her. "What's this?" she asked, her voice dripping with suspicion. "It's a 30-day notice to quit," I said calmly. "Our relationship is over. I've packed your belongings. They are in the spare room. You have 30 days, as required by law, to find a new place to live and remove all of your property." The sight of the formal document, the cold, legal language, hit her in a way my anger never could have. This wasn't a fight she could win with tears or accusations. This was a process. You're evicting me?" she whispered, the words sounding absurd to her. "I'm terminating your residency," I corrected her. "You have 30 days. Her face hardened. The victim narrative dissolved, replaced by cold fury. "Fine, I'll get my things now." She stood up, heading for the spare room. "No," I said, standing up to block her way. "You can take what you need for the next few days. The rest of your property, including the more valuable items, your laptop, your designer bags, the locket, will be available to you on the day you move out and return your key. Consider it insurance that you will vacate peacefully and on time." This was the move. I wasn't illegally withholding her property. I was securing it pending the termination of her residency. It was a legally gray but defensible strategy. It was leverage. "You can't do that," she shrieked. "That's my stuff. My whole career is on that laptop. You're a thief." "I'm a man who wants his flat back without any drama," I said, my voice still level, though it cost me everything. Inside, I was a wreck. My hands were shaking slightly. A dull ache had settled behind my ribs. "You have 30 days, Poppy. I suggest you start looking for a flat." She stared at me, her eyes full of a hatred so pure it was stunning. Then she turned, grabbed her carry-on, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stood there in the vibrating silence of the flat, the mask of calm finally cracking. I leaned against the wall and slid to the floor, the sheer, crushing weight of the last 3 years finally hitting me. This was going to be the longest month of my life. Update 2. Update. The past 2 weeks have been a masterclass in psychological warfare. Poppy is cycling through every tactic in the manipulator's handbook, and I'm documenting everything like it's a project report. Phase 1, the sympathy play. For the first few days, I got a series of tearful texts and voicemails. How could I do this to her? She made a silly mistake. She was drunk. She loved me. She was sorry. She begged me to just talk about this like adults. I never replied. Phase 2, the legal threats. When tears didn't work, the tone shifted. She texted that she'd spoken to a solicitor, I doubt it, and that I was illegally holding her property hostage. She demanded immediate access to all her things. I replied with a single, formal email, restating the terms. All property would be released upon her vacating the premises on or before the date specified in the notice. I attached a photo of the notice she had left on the table. Phase 3, harassment via proxy. Her friends, Pippa and Imogen, started in. Texts calling me a controlling, abusive monster. Vague posts on their Instagram stories about toxic men who punish strong women. Poppy posted a teary-eyed selfie with a caption about surviving betrayal and learning to stand on my own 2 feet. It was all a performance for an audience I didn't care about. The real escalation happened last Tuesday. I got a call from my mom. Her voice was tight with a confused worry that immediately set my teeth on edge. "Arthur, darling, I just had the most disturbing call from Poppy's mother, Fiona." My blood went cold. "What did she say, Mum?" "Oh, it was a whole performance," my mum said, her voice laced with skepticism. "Thank God for her good sense. She said you had some sort of breakdown, that you threw Poppy out with nothing but the clothes on her back. She claimed Poppy had loaned you a significant amount of money and you were refusing to pay her back. She kept asking if you were okay and hinted that you'd been unstable since your father passed. She was trying to paint you as unhinged and me as a negligent mother. This was a new low. Poppy couldn't break me, so she armed her mother with a pack of vicious lies and aimed her at mine. She weaponized my father's death. The strategic, detached part of my brain clicked into a higher gear. The goal was no longer just to get her out. The goal was to ensure the truth came out so clearly and decisively that she could never twist the narrative again. Yesterday, Poppy showed up with her mother. Fiona stood behind her, looking righteous and protective. Poppy demanded her laptop, claiming a major work project was due. It was a lie, a power play. "Poppy, the terms are clear," I said through the door, refusing to open it more than a crack. "Arthur, this is absurd," Fiona said, stepping forward. "Give my daughter her things. She told me how you're holding her financially hostage after she was kind enough to lend you money." I just looked at Fiona, a woman I'd had dinner with a dozen times. "You should be careful about the stories you choose to believe, Fiona," I said. Then I closed the door. This is not a clean fight. It's a miserable, draining siege. I've been sleeping on the couch because I can't stand being in the bedroom. I live on coffee and the grim satisfaction of knowing I am following the process to the letter. Every interaction is logged. Every text is saved. 10 more days. The foundation is gone, and I'm just waiting to clear the rubble. Final update. The 30th day arrived like a parole hearing. The month was hell, a Cold War fought in a 900-square-foot flat I barely recognized anymore. But I stuck to the plan. I documented everything. The move-out was as tense as a bomb disposal. Poppy arranged for her dad, a quiet, weary-looking man, to help her. I had a friend, Graham, come over to act as a neutral third-party witness. I had a printed inventory of all her packed belongings. As Poppy and her dad made trips to the hired van, I stood by, silent and observant. She didn't look at me once. When the last box was out, I presented her with the inventory sheet and a pen. "This is a document confirming you have received all of your personal property as listed," I said. "Please sign it, and I will need the key back." She shot me a look of pure venom, but signed the paper. Graham signed as a witness. She slapped the key on the counter. The transaction was sterile and final. She walked out of my life and I locked the door behind her. The silence she left was the most peaceful sound I'd ever heard. For 2 weeks, I did nothing. I deep-cleaned the flat, rearranged the furniture, and reclaimed my space. I started sleeping in my bed again. The anger and pain began to recede, leaving behind a sort of bruised quiet. Then, I executed the final phase of my plan. I launched a professional design portfolio website I'd been building for myself. The centerpiece was a blog post titled "The Polaris Locket, a Study in Sentimental Design and Fabricated Narratives." I used the high-resolution photos and the video I took of the locket. The post was my story, told through the lens of my craft. I wrote about the inspiration, capturing a moment of pure trust. I detailed the design process, the choice of materials, the collaboration with the artisan. I posted my original sketches and 3D renderings. It was a beautiful, compelling story about creating a symbol of unwavering loyalty. Then, the conclusion. An object like this is imbued with the story it's meant to tell. This locket was designed to be a North Star, Polaris, a fixed point of truth. It was a tangible promise of a shared, honest future. It has since come to my attention that the narrative it was intended to represent was a work of fiction. The trust it symbolized was leveraged to fund a deception. Therefore, the piece in its original context is meaningless. Art, however, can be reclaimed. Its story can be rewritten. I am happy to confirm that the Polaris locket was safely returned to its recipient as part of a formal separation of property. Its story is now hers to tell. My smile as the designer is one of moving on, and a reminder that the most beautiful designs are meaningless without a foundation of integrity. My next project will be a study in resilience. I shared the link on my LinkedIn and my professional Instagram. I tagged the artisan who, having heard a sanitized version of the breakup from Poppy, was fascinated by my side of the story and shared it, commenting, "An artist's work always has a story. This one is powerful." The fallout was quiet but absolute. I didn't have to call Poppy a liar or a cheater. My post was calm, professional, and classy. It was also undeletable and devastatingly specific. By confirming I had returned the locket, I neutralized any claim that I was a thief. I simply told the truth about my art. Poppy's social media world, which is smaller than she pretends, saw it. Her vague posts about a toxic ex now looked foolish and dishonest. The story I heard from Graham, who has friends in that circle, is that the guy Niall wanted nothing to do with her drama, especially when he realized she had no money of her own. Her friendship with Pippa and Imogen fractured completely under the weight of the credit card debt they had racked up for the extended trip, a bill they had all expected me to pay. I did get a few comments calling my post passive-aggressive. I didn't care. They were drowned out by messages of support. It wasn't a perfect, clean victory. A public move like that never is. It left me feeling exposed, but it was necessary. Life is quiet now. It's not happy ever after. There's a scar, a new layer of cynicism I carry with me. The knowledge that I was seen as a walking wallet is a bitter pill. But the flat is finally mine again. The other night I found myself sketching at the kitchen table, designing something new. Not a locket, a bridge. Something built to withstand unexpected stress with deep foundations and an honest design. It's a start,